Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Fun Friday. This is Mrs. Killo, and oh my, do I have a challenge for you. Again, we're going to dig into those engineering skills and see how you might build the tallest tower today. We even have a surprise technology element that will bring all of your hard work together in the end. So, in order to get started, you guessed it, you might want to begin with some brainstorming and sketch a plan. Think about what materials you have available in your home, get some ideas from this video, and don't forget you'll need to, do you remember from last Fun Friday? Yep, ask an adult. Just make sure your plan is okay with the grown-ups in your house before you take the time to get out all of your supplies and agree on a good location to do your work. So we're about to build the tallest tower ever, or, well, at least ever at your house. Let's do a little thinking first. What is the tallest tower in the world? How does an engineer think about tall buildings? What is the history? What do I need to know about structures and stability? We're going to take a look at a video. Now, I found this 5-minute clip super interesting. It really helped me understand a lot about tall structures, but it might be good for students who are a little bit older. I hope all second through fifth graders watch this, but if you're in pre-K through first grade, it's okay to skip through it.
In 1956, architect Frank Lloyd Wright proposed a mile-high skyscraper. It was going to be the world's tallest building, by a lot, 5 times as high as the Eiffel Tower. But many critics laughed at the architect, arguing that people would have to wait hours for an elevator, or worse, that the tower would collapse under its own weight. Most engineers agreed, and despite the publicity around the proposal, the Titanic Tower was never built. But today, bigger and bigger buildings are going up around the world. Firms are even planning skyscrapers more than a kilometer tall, like the Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia, 3 times the size of the Eiffel Tower. Very soon, Wright's mile-high miracle may be a reality. So what exactly was stopping us from building these megastructures 70 years ago? And how do we build something a mile high today? In any construction project, each story of the structure needs to be able to support the stories on top of it. The higher we build, the higher the gravitational pressure from the upper stories on the lower ones. This principle has long dictated the shape of our buildings, leading ancient architects to favor pyramids with wide foundations that support lighter upper levels. But this solution doesn't quite translate to a city skyline. A pyramid that tall would be roughly 1.5 miles wide, tough to squeeze into a city center. Fortunately, strong materials like concrete can avoid this impractical shape, and modern concrete blends are reinforced with steel fibers for strength and water-reducing polymers to prevent cracking. The concrete in the world's tallest tower, Dubai's Burj Khalifa, can withstand about 8,000 tons of pressure per square meter, the weight of over 1,200 African elephants. Of course, even if a building supports itself, it still needs support from the ground. Without a foundation, buildings this heavy would sink, fall, or lean over. To prevent the roughly 500,000-ton tower from sinking, 192 concrete and steel supports, called piles, were buried over 50 meters deep. The friction between the piles and the ground keeps this sizable structure standing. Besides defeating gravity, which pushes the building down, a skyscraper also needs to overcome the blowing wind, which pushes from the side. On average days, wind can exert up to 17 pounds of force per square meter on a high-rise building, as heavy as a gust of bowling balls. Designing structures to be aerodynamic, like China's sleek Shanghai Tower, can reduce that force by up to a quarter. And wind-bearing frames inside or outside the building can absorb the remaining wind force, such as in Seoul's Lotte Tower. But even after all these measures, you could still find yourself swaying back and forth more than a meter on top floors during a hurricane. To prevent the wind from rocking tower tops, Many skyscrapers employ a counterweight weighing hundreds of tons called a tuned mass damper. The Taipei 101, for instance, has suspended a giant metal orb above the 87th floor. When wind moves the building, this orb sways into action, absorbing the building's kinetic energy. As its movements trail the towers, hydraulic cylinders between the ball and the building convert that kinetic energy into heat and stabilize the swaying structure. With all these technologies in place, our megastructures can stay standing and stable. But quickly traveling through buildings this large is a challenge in itself. In Wright's age, the fastest elevators moved a mere 22 kilometers per hour. Thankfully, today's elevators are much faster, traveling over 70 kilometers per hour, with future cabins potentially using frictionless magnetic rails for even higher speeds. And traffic management algorithms group riders by destination to get passengers and empty cabins where they need to be. Skyscrapers have come a long way since Wright proposed his mile-high tower. What were once considered impossible ideas have become architectural opportunities. Today, it may just be a matter of time until one building goes the extra mile. How do engineers ensure that these massive structures don't come down in an earthquake? Check out this lesson and learn why it's not the sturdiest buildings, but the smartest that remain standing.
Okay, so are you ready? We're going to quickly move through a bunch of ideas and materials that you might want to consider for your build. Legos can be a sturdy and effective choice. I bet many of you have these lying around somewhere. Remember, with these kind of STEAM projects, collaboration or working with others can be really helpful. What kind of building blocks do you have in your home? Maybe they are plastic, like Legos or Duplos. Maybe they are wooden, like Kiva planks, Jenga, letter blocks. Magnetic blocks can work too. Connects and other construction sets make excellent towers. Check out this magnificent thing. If only you had enough pieces. Okay, maybe you don't want to use a specialty building material. Maybe we can look through your pantry and craft bins. Here are some spaghetti and marshmallow towers. You could also try toothpicks and marshmallows, try gumdrops, and tape also works as a connector. Craft sticks, clothespins, and clips. How else might you connect these pieces? The structure in the middle seems to have toothpicks holding it together. Do you see that? The one on the right corner is using wiki or wax string sticks. Maybe you have an abundance of cups to tinker with, or even Tupperware. Whoa, man, wouldn't it stink if you were the one to knock this over by accident? Got straws? Balloons. This is a silly tower, but sure seems like fun. Paper stacking. This might be best using a thicker paper like index cards. Speaking of cards, card towers are tricky and take a steady hand, but give it a shot. The tension of touching cards can make a steady base for your pyramid. Here are some more ways to use paper. How about a newspaper tower? You might even get super fancy with your architecture skills. Just like newspaper, we can reuse other materials as well. Try a trash tower. Used a lot of white gold lately? TP rolls can make pretty cool towers. If it's a nice day, let's take this outside. Just might want to consider wind speeds that day if you're using a lightweight material. Maybe we can use what we find out in nature or our yards. Help your parents clear debris, collect sticks, and see how high you can go. This guy seems to be using screws and bolts and wood and cardboard. Maybe you can combine a variety of material. Whatever you make, think about shape and balance for stability. Try to make it as tall as you can. And if it falls over, it probably will at some point in your build. That's okay. Pick it up. Adjust your process and try to solve for your next attempt. Feel free to go back through this video and look closely to study the geometrical shapes that are used, the stability, balancing, and structural techniques. Or just go for it. Figure it out along the way. Okay, so now for that extra icing on top technology surprise I mentioned. If you would like, this takes a little preparation, and for anyone who's not done it before, you might need to do a small bit of research, but it might be fun to create a time-lapse video of your build and the process. So you can see in this video here, right, there we go, the little boy builds and rebuilds his block tower. But the process that may have been 15 to 20 minutes in real time is sped up to about 30 seconds in this time-lapse video. So if you set up a device and record your efforts, it could be pretty cool. And maybe it would even be awesome to try a slow-mo video of the collapse of your tower. At the very end, of course. Sometimes wrecking your work can be pretty fun. You certainly don't have to do either of these technology bits. If you do think you will record your work, here are a few clever ways to prop up a phone or tablet to capture the process. All right, are you ready? Remember, brainstorm, sketch, and ask an adult for permission first. Stay creative, enjoy the process, and please be safe. And don't forget to share your pictures and time lapse or slow mo videos if you take them. Have fun, everyone.